I have spent over $100,000 on real estate mentorships. Today, I want to share with you what I learned so you don't make the same mistakes. Hi, I'm Dr. Shamim Nazir. I've been an ER physician for 25 years, and I created the Doctor Investor to empower physicians in their investment choices. And as you might know, a lot of doctors are curious about real estate and they want to get into real estate. So one of the ways to learn more about real estate is to get into a coaching program or a mentorship program. And there are a lot of great programs out there, but I think it's really important to understand a few basic things before you jump in. So what are mentorship programs and what do they offer? Well, first they offer some educational modules, some one-on-one or group coaching, probably some underwriting, Excel spreadsheets or software, and they will likely have a network that you can interact with, people who are in the coaching program, and also a network of service providers or vendors. But before you sign up, there's something very important that you need to think about first, and that is whether or not you want to be an active or passive real estate investor. Now, these are completely different roles. Most doctors have a full-time job and they don't want another full-time job. So they may most of the time opt for the passive investment strategy, which means you're bringing equity, you're investing money, but you don't have any other responsibilities. Now, if you want to be an active real estate investor, you've got to put in a lot more time, money, and effort. So you've got to think about whether or not you want to be that person. Do you want to commit all that time, money, and effort? Do you want something outside of your clinical practice or your day job? And do you want to really get into the weeds of real estate? And most people who are looking for mentorship programs are those who want to be active real estate investors. Now, active real estate investors need three main things. They need the deals, they need the team, and they need the capital. So let's go through these one by one. So deals, that means the property, right? So where are you going to get that property? Well, you're not going to go on the internet or look on the MLS, because if you do that, you're going to pay too much for that property and it's not going to work out as a good investment option. So where else can you get properties? Well, you get properties from brokers. And where do you find the brokers? Well, that's the difficulty. You can look them up online, but they may not talk to you. You have to build that relationship. You have to build a network. So you want to be in the industry, you need to be talking to people, meeting with people, and building that reputation, that rapport with multiple brokers so that when they think there's a property potentially in the pipeline, they will reach out to you and share that information. Now, obviously, if you're new to the industry and you haven't closed a deal, you haven't completed a project, they're going to be very less likely to bring you that deal. So it takes a lot of legwork to really build that reputation and relationships and that connections with various people, get introductions to where they will be likely to consider you when they know there's a property potentially going for sale. Because you want to catch that property before it hits the market, because that's when you're going to get the best price. And as most real estate investors know, brokers are going to present those properties to people in their network before they list it. So you want to be one of those people in their network that they will present the property to. Now, the other way you can look for properties is to do a database search on properties. And you can filter these databases for the location, the size, and all of the various features you want in that property. And then you would reach out to those owners. And so you can imagine that's a complete cold outreach. These people are not looking to sell their property. They may be thinking about it, and you're making a guess and you're sending them mail, direct mail, and asking to buy their property. Or you're calling them up directly, hoping they'll answer the phone. And then you're telling them, hey, I'm an investor, I'd like to buy your property. So as you can imagine, that's a difficult thing to do. And it takes a lot of time and effort to do these database searches and filter them for the right property and then find the owners, because a lot of these owners are LLCs and you may not know who the person is behind that LLC, and you're going to have to figure out who is the owner, what's their contact information, and then send them an email or a letter in the mail or call them And you're gonna have to do it multiple times to that same owner because they're not gonna respond to you the first time. So there's a lot of legwork that goes into finding the property. Now the next thing an active investor needs is a team, because commercial real estate is usually a large, complex project. Now, if you're doing a smaller project, you may be able to do it by yourself or with one or two other people, but most commercial real estate deals need more than one individual. Now, I don't mean just general partners, but you need people outside of the partnership even. You need brokers, you need lenders, you need property managers. So you're going to need to build a team of vendors and service providers. And you want to have relationships and some sort of communication with them ongoing so that when you do encounter these properties, you can send it over to them and get that insurance quote, get the property tax quote, and get, their estimates on property management. You're going to need to get all of that for your underwriting. So you want to have that team in place. Now, the third thing an active investor needs is capital. You're going to need some money to buy that property. So how are you going to get that money? Now, even if you have your own money, you may not want to invest all of your own money in one project, because if that project doesn't go well, you are risking all of your money. So usually what happens is you do a joint venture and everybody puts in a little bit, or you go reach out to investors and raise capital. So everyone's putting in a little bit, so no one's losing their entire nest egg on one project. Now, if you do want to reach out to investors, you have to do one more step, which is create a syndication. A syndication is a legal structure or partnership, and this has to be done by a securities attorney because there are very specific laws regarding syndications. Real estate syndications essentially are securities. You are selling a security to someone else. This is usually regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. But there are a couple of exceptions that real estate investments fall under, and you have to be careful with those laws. And that's why it's really important to get a securities attorney and not just a real estate attorney or a general attorney to draw up the paperwork. Because if you mess it up or you do something wrong, it's gonna be a big deal and you don't wanna get in trouble with the SEC. So to stay out of that and make sure you get a securities attorney. So those are the three main things that an active investor needs. They need deal flow, they need a team, and they need capital. So if you want to be an active investor, you might want to consider how you're going to put those three main things together. Where are you going to get your deals? Where are you going to get your capital? And who's going to be on your team? So how do the mentorships fit in? Well, mentorships, like I said, will provide you the education, the theory. So think like first and second year of medical school. It's a lot of good information and it's definitely the foundation. So it's important to get that under your belt, but it's not the practical. Now, they may have that coaching piece where once you find that deal and you need help underwriting it or analyzing it, they will help you through that. But there are some very important things that the mentorship programs will not provide you. So what are the things that a mentorship program does not provide? Well, they don't help you find the deals. They may help you figure out how to find the deals. They may give you the mechanics of it and they may tell you what to do, but they're not going to help you find the deal. And they're not going to help you find partners. There will be a network available and you can reach out to various people on that network, but they're not going to vet these people ahead of time. That's going to be up to you. And the same is true for the vendors or service providers that they may have in their network. They're not going to vet these people ahead of time. And then the fourth thing that a mentorship program is not going to provide is finding capital. They're not going to help you get the financing or raise capital. So as you can imagine, these are very important components of the investment process. So how can you invest in real estate without all these? Well, you can't. And so that is what I really want you to understand when you go into a mentorship program. And even if they tell you they've got it all figured out and it's a turnkey operation and you just plug and play, it's not that simple. So I think if you want to be a real estate investor, if you're looking for mentorship programs, like I said, I do think they provide a lot of value and they're really great, but you need to go in with that knowledge that it is not going to be everything, and be prepared to spend a lot more time and money beyond that mentorship fee to really get into your first property. For my experience, I wanted to invest on my own into a small multifamily, and I thought if I keep it small, it shouldn't be too hard. And I joined a mentorship program, and I paid the highest price because I wanted all the bells and whistles, and I wanted it to be easy implementation. But I realized it wasn't that simple. I was still doing a lot of work. I was spending a lot of time looking for properties, sending out mail, calling vendors, calling brokers. All of this stuff was taking a lot of time. And then I hired a virtual assistant to help me, so that was costing me money. And then I realized there's the due diligence process and there's more money involved in that. And I realized this was going to be a much bigger undertaking than I had anticipated. So in summary, what I really want you to understand is that mentorships can be very helpful and they do offer a lot of value, but you are going to have to do a lot of work and you're going to have to invest a lot of time and money to be an active investor. So I hope that was helpful. If you've joined a mentorship, let me know and tell me what you thought of it. Or if you have recommendations for our audience, please let us know. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.